Yes!
Look everybody, I'm gonna just be 100% real with you when I say that despite the fact that I don't hate Gambit like the vast majority of the Destiny community does, I do have a fair amount of gripes and complaints about it. And one of them derives from my hatred of the weekly Gambit bounty known as Might of the Traveler. At the time this video is being recorded, we're ending the second week of Destiny 2's 11th season, and if I'm not mistaken, this is either the 7th or 8th week in a row that this bounty has been present. As stated previously, Might of the Traveler is one of the weekly Gambit bounties, and if it's present for the week, that means that another bounty is present alongside it. Weekly bounties from the Drifter, Shaxx, and Zavala all reward you with experience, glimmer, and a piece of legendary gear, and 200 bright dust, and I'm 100% certain that the only reason why you will ever do these bounties is for the bright dust. Usually these bounties aren't that bad and you can have them completed in a match or two, but Might of the Traveler can be a huge pain in the neck if you don't know the best route to take in regards to completing it quickly. But fret not, because in this video I'll share some tips with you so that this bounty will no longer be as a big of an annoyance for you. So without further ado, let's get it in. Okay, so the description for Might of the Traveler states that you will earn points towards it by casting supers, defeating enemies with supers, and creating orbs of light. I'm gonna just go ahead and cut to the chase and saying that if you are not getting a bunch of super kills, progress towards this bounty is going to move slower than a snail. Your main focus shouldn't be just getting super kills, but also casting your supers often as possible. Now, in order to make this possible, you'll want to really focus on speccing into the intellect stat. Intellect dictates your super cooldown, meaning that the lower your super cooldown is, the faster you will get your super back. At tier 0, your super cooldown is 7 minutes and 12 seconds, but at tier 10 intellect, your super cooldown drops to 3 minutes and 48 seconds. So if you do the math, you're getting your super back almost 3.5 minutes faster. And that 3.5 minutes is based on sitting there and doing nothing, because you'll get your super back even faster over the course of defeating enemies and picking up orbs of light. Let me be as clear as possible when I say that tier 10 intellect is by no means mandatory to complete this bounty. But if you try to get as close to tier 10 as possible, you will quickly realize how much of a difference it makes. Now wait a minute, before you load into a match, try to grab 3 friends to create a full fire team. I suggest completing this bounty with a full fire team because you'll be playing the ad clear role as much as necessary until your super is available. Whenever I'm the designated ad clear guy in Gambit, I always run a shotgun with a damage perk such as Swashbuckler or Rampage. Shotguns are one of the best weapons to use for an ad clear role, and with the extra damage from the aforementioned perks, you'll be making short work of ad waves like it's nothing. At the last minute, I ended up noticing that the exotic pulse rifle Bad Juju worked excellently for this bounty, and it's all because of its intrinsic perk known as String of Curses, which states that kills refill the magazine, increase damage for a short duration, and grant super energy based on the strength of String of Curses, and it fires a fully auto. Yeah, there's a lot going on with this perk, but the main thing to take away from it is that it helps recharge your super very quickly, which is nothing short of a blessing. Also, the damage of String of Curses stacks up to 5, and with each kill refilling your magazine, ad waves won't stand a chance at all. Now, if you haven't got your hands on Bad Juju, do yourself a favor and do so. This weapon isn't mandatory by any means, but it'll make everything so much easier. Also, you'll want to get your hands on a helmet, a pair of boots, and a class item with an arc affinity. On my helmet, I run double shotgun ammo finder. On my boots, I run shotgun ammo scavenger, well, 2 of them, and on my class item, I run double pump action. Ammo finder mods are amazing because you will get a notification on the left side of your screen to let you know that they're working. And any ammo spawn from the effects of an ammo finder mod will have a glow of its respective ammo type color around it. So for special ammo, you will see a green beam of light emanating from every special ammo brick spawn from the special ammo finder mod. This mod will ensure that you're constantly getting ammo for your shotgun, alongside enabling you to use your shotgun as often as you would be using your primary weapon. The double shotgun scavenger mods will increase the amount of ammo you pick up from each special ammo brick, and pump action will grant extra super energy from shotgun kills. Don't take this as me being lazy, but perks such as pump action and remote connection are such a pain in the neck to test, so I unfortunately don't have exact super cooldown percentages. The best that I could do was fool around in the tribute hall killing enemies, and it seemed like this mod was either bugged or you may receive the most benefit of killing more powerful enemies. I'm not for sure, but if you feel that this mod isn't worth your time, I don't blame you. I use it on the off chance that if it's gonna actually work, it's consoling to know that it might be doing something. I don't know, that's just me, but yeah. Anyways, you'll wanna focus on using a super that has a long uptime and excels at clearing ads quickly. And luckily for you, I got a few suggestions for each of the 3 Guardian classes. As a Warlock, there's nothing better than Top Tree Stormcaller and Crown of Tempest when it comes to ad clear. Crown of Tempest Conduction Times perk reduces the cooldown of your arc abilities when you get kills with your arc abilities. Conduction time stacks up to 3, and while it's active, your super also cools down much faster. With 100 intellect, I've been able to get my super back in what feels like a matter of seconds, but I've been able to make it last for what feels like forever since Conduction Times also increases the duration of Storm Trance. Top Tree Stormcaller is amazing because enemies afflicted by the chain lightning will chain it to nearby enemies, and you can ionic blink out of the way to avoid death. But Try and do your best to focus on red bar enemies only because you'll use a lot of super energy trying to kill orange bars. If you're running a Titan, there's 2 paths that I recommend. You can either go with bottom tree striker or bottom tree sentinel. I've had the best success with bottom tree slam for multiple reasons, but the most defining perk in this skill path will have to be trample. Trample states that kills with Fist of Havoc increases duration. To get the most bang for your buck from this super, you'll want to jump in the air and cast it. Enemies killed by the initial slam upon cast contribute to your super kills, and from there you'll want to spam the light attack. As the perk description states, enemies killed by your super increases duration, so provided that you're killing enemies, you're going to get a little bit of super energy back every time. I recommend spamming a light attack because it uses dramatically less super energy than a heavy attack. And if you're constantly using a heavy attack, you'll probably get about 3 or 4 of them in before your super ends, so I don't recommend doing that at all. However, when the inevitable point in time arrives when your super is getting ready to end, use the last bit of your super energy to use the heavy attack, but make sure that you're surrounded by a decent amount of enemies. I don't have any exotic armor to recommend aside from Syntheseps, for the simple fact that this is my favorite Titan exotic armor, and because of his biotic enhancements perk, which increases your melee lunge range and increases the damage of your super and melee attacks when you're surrounded by 3 or more enemies. The most prominent part of this perk is the extra super damage, which is something that you won't have to go out of your way for because you'll always be surrounded by enemies. If you feel more comfortable with the Sentinel subclass, you definitely want to equip Doomfang Pauldron. Doomfang is amazing because it grants super energy from void melee kills. While your Sentinel shield super is active, the duration of your super is extended when you inflict damage to enemies hit by the thrown shields. The bottom tree skill path for the subclass brandishes the full potential of Doomfang via the second shield perk, which does exactly what it states. Having 2 shield charges is heaven sent because you can clear out ads with your shield bash, which recharges the throwing shield, and follow up with throwing a shield, which increases the duration of your super. And finally, for the hunter class, there's nothing more optimal than the Arc Strider subclass. I didn't specifically designate any of the 3 skill trees because in my experience, they've all worked pretty well. However, if I absolutely had to recommend one of the 3, I would go with bottom tree for the 2 perks, Lightning Reflexes and Focus Breathing. Lightning Reflexes states that you're harder to kill while dodging, and this applies to dodging while the super is active as well. While dodging, you're surrounded by electricity, which adds some extra armor for survivability. This ability is incredibly useful in Gambit because the AI in Gambit is incredibly intelligent and they can always tell when you're one shot away from dying or if you're carrying a lot of motes. Don't believe me? Try it and find out. There's been plenty of times where I would either be on the brink of death or carrying 15 motes, and all of the ads focus their attention on me. But back to it. Focus Breathing decreases the cooldown of your dodge while sprinting, and after sprinting for about a half a second, you'll get a notification on the left side of the screen informing you that the ability is in effect. I've come to realize that Focus Breathing will knock off about 2.5 seconds off your dodge cooldown. So if you're running 100 mobility, your dodge will go from 9 seconds to about 6.5 seconds. I like Focus Breathing because it's an ability that's always useful because sprinting is something that you'll always be doing. But yeah, before you load into a Gambit match, you'll want to equip the exotic hunter chest piece known as Right and Flux. Right and Flux's exotic perk Synapse Junction states that quick successive attacks with Arc Staff increases damage output and duration. Right and Flux literally turns the Arc Staff super into a one-man ad-slaying killing machine because all you have to do is simply hit an opponent with the Arc Staff in order to get the Synapse Junction perk rolling. Synapse Junction stacks up to 3 times, and at 3 stacks you'll be slicing through ad waves like butter. Also, the super lasts much longer, and there's been plenty of times where I've single-handedly cleared an ad wave and still had some super energy left over. Also, there's another tip I have for the hunter class that'll get this bounty completed even faster, but will inevitably annoy the life out of the enemy team. If you end up having to take it to the tiebreaker round, switch over to the Blade Barrage super and equip the exotic gauntlets known as Shards of Galanor. This exotic will refund super energy from Blade Barrage damage, and in the tiebreaker round, your super recharges very quickly. All you gotta do is spam Blade Barrage and you'll get progress towards Model the Traveler every time you cast your super. Not only is this a helpful tip to complete this bounty even faster, it'll also make it significantly easier to take down a primeval, especially if you have a whole team of hunters doing this. Well, everybody, that does it for this one. Words cannot express how much I hate this bounty, but if it means that I can make somebody's life easier when it comes to figuring out how to complete it more easily, that's a win in my book. So I really hope that this guide was useful. If you made it to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed what you watched, do me a favor and thumb rest of that like button until it turns blue. And if you're new to my neck of the woods, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon so you don't ever miss a video of the most elite gaming content. But with that being stated, 1LHD is over and out. Y'all take it easy.